We'll bring you details on that in our subsequent bulletins. Let's now turn, unfortunately, we did lose connection with Mr. Debo Adeniro. If we can connect with him in the course of the program, we will continue that conversation. But we're going to turn to politics and now to Edo State, where the governorship election has now been scheduled to hold on the 21st of September. We know that political parties are jostling for who takes over the Osadebe House in Edo State. According to the APC, its governorship primary would hold on June the 22nd. The race is on in a state where the People's Democratic Party is in the seat of power. The Labour Party is also warming up for the #1 seat come September the 21st. Is the APC going to field a formidable candidate capable of defeating the ruling party in the state, as the APC is yet to zone who becomes the party's flag bearer, especially now that the APC is in the seat of power at the federal level? And human rights activist and public affairs analyst Abraham Oviawe joins me on the program. He joins me virtually from Benin City, Edo State. Good to have you join us.
Thank you very much, and good evening from Benin City.
Good evening. It will seem as though, I don't know how those of you who live in Edo State are feeling right now, because almost every other day, an aspirant emerges. You know, almost everyone seems like they're interested in piloting the affairs of the state. But we've seen really big names on the field, those who have led before and, you know, in one capacity or the other. Osage Zeyamu is running again, says he wants to run again. Imasu Agbo is there. The former governor between 2007 and 2008, Sereme Osumbo, is also there. Claire Magba is there. Charles Ariave is there. Olumide Akpata has also joined in the race. What do you make of the field of play right now in Edo State?
There is clearly an upsurge of aspirations across board. Unlike we have had in previous elections, virtually every local government, or if you like, every ward in the state has one or two persons who are interested in occupying the Osadebe Avenue. That's apparently what it is. Although it's good, it's healthy for democracy, but in the long run, there are very basic perimeters for which Edo people, we assess those who they think we have the capacity to direct and lead them to El Dorado. It's crucial everybody's aspiring, everybody's aspiring. Those who are unable to trace their own local government as they are aspiring. Politics is a leveler. It gives opportunity for everybody to aspire. But again, at the appropriate time, I know the various political parties will be able to determine those who will fly their flag. And we can only urge them to bear in mind certain parameters, put into perspective the current situation of the country and the state, and how Edo people are faring, those who have shown concern over time. And I continue to ask myself, we have these large numbers of individuals who roll out their CV, and I'm asking, where have these people been? Where have they been? All through in the last 10, 20 years. Suddenly they just wake up trying to introduce themselves to us, unknown to Edo people. But again, like I can tell you, the political parties, we have a lot to do. We can only on our own set agenda and identify those who have been with the people over time, and can only advocate that if they desire to get the support and blessings of Edo people at the general polls, these are what we feel they should consider at that time. You know, politics is a special game. The political parties can wake up tomorrow and choose to anoint anybody. Whatever may be their parameter, it's not for those of us who are not called politicians to interfere.
But you know what they say, Mr. Oviawe. People will always say, I've heard politicians and analysts say, they are contenders and pretenders. The pretenders will fall off, the contenders will remain. I guess that will happen in the course of the election. But I also wanted to ask you, because you've been using the word parameters, but in the public discourse in Edo State, one of the major parameters people are talking about is the issue of zoning. A lot of people believe that it should now go to the Edo Central because they have not been at the seat of power in a really long time. What do you make of that? Do you think that, look, zoning should be one of those parameters used to pick who the next governor of Edo State is?
Fortunately and coincidentally, I come from that part of the state. But beyond, I come from Edo Central, from Ekpoma precisely. And beyond the issue of zoning as it were, I feel beyond zoning. Yes, we feel that the Edo Central should be those who should benefit from it. But putting that in perspective, I also think that who should fly the flag of any political party beyond primordial sentiment, beyond, as it were. Because clearly, for example, as I speak to you, the PDP are already taking the majority of those who are flying the flag of the PDP are majorly from the Edo Central Senatorial District, an indication that they may likely push it there. But for the APC, beyond zoning, I feel that because they are not the government in power, they are not the government in power, I know they will open a large scale of assessing those who they feel will fly their flag. I agree that that sentiment that it should go to Edo Central is one and is right. But again, you must look at it within the perspective of reality and political science. You must look at it from at this critical time. Who is that candidate that has the capacity to garner support across the entire state? That would be the parameter for which any party, for example, who is not currently in power, we want to look at, as it were. And I feel very clearly we must consider those who have been on ground. We must consider those who clearly have shown empathy for the people, those who have been performing, those who have rallied around the people in times of need. Not the one who just come 2 weeks to time, he's not acting as though he loves us so much. I'm talking about someone who has shown consistency for the yearning and aspiration of the people beyond the issue of zoning. I am sympathetic to the Edo Central Senatorial District, but with respect to winning elections, the parameter for determining that it goes far beyond just mere zoning. There are other factors one we ordinarily put into perspective to ensure clearly that these things are put very clearly. We want to see those who are showing empathy, those who are performing.
I want to stay on the issue of parameters. And I know you've talked about those who have shown empathy to the people of Edo State, those who have been on ground for a really long time. But do numbers also play a role here? Whilst people are saying Edo Central because, of the zoning arrangement as is where, but people in Edo South are saying, look, they have the numbers and they can decide who they go with because they have, the larger number. Do you see that also making or also being one of the parameters that's going to play a huge role in this election?
That will radically be unfair of those from Edo South, because as it stands just now, the governor who is currently running is 8 years down the line from Edo South, as it were. And I feel that beyond that, I want to look beyond the issue of zoning. I want to look at issues of parameters, because as it stands now, the APC have come out very clearly to say that they are not going to zone their tickets to any senatorial district. That having been taken, I haven't stated that very clearly. I think we must now look at those. If you ask me, for example, beyond Edo Central, if you ask me to identify one man within this cycle who clearly have shown...
Mr. Abraham, I would not want you to identify. It's too early to be identifying names. I wouldn't want you to mention any name, but just speak to character and competence without mentioning a name.
That's the point. That's the point. I do not intend to do that, but I am saying very clearly, those who have been on ground, those who have shown support for the people, those who are rallying around the Edo people at this very critical time, those who have the character, those who have been seen to have done things in the past. For example, across board, we now know that development across the world are not driven by public-private partnership. We want to see those who have been quite successful and progressive in their private endeavor. We want to see those who have shown character over time, those who have been able to do business, those who have been able to drive an establishment and have made huge progress. But
let me ask you, I know right now you are stating, what you think should happen. But the Edo people are quite radical in terms of how they vote. We've seen that over time. We saw that during the Oshomole administration. We saw that even in the just concluded election in Edo State when Obaseki emerged a second term. What do you think, or what are you hearing from the Edo people, and what do you think would decide this election?
Quite frankly, I want to hope that the various political parties will pull out their very best. We pull out their very best in determining those. But I want to tell you very clearly, all the elections that have played in Edo State have been driven on specific agenda and issues. People Edo are carried by are usually swayed by individuals who have shown empathy with capacity, and they know that they have the heart of the people's heart in mind when doing things. For example, I must tell you without messing words, and I'm not bakery. I've been doing a whole lot around for people in the past few weeks and few months. As I speak to you, why people here and cry for their ability to even survive in this critical time, you will see the effort he has made. Look at this unitary period, beyond politics as it were. We are talking about parties who have shown support without interest of politics in the last decade, and have stood tall for them as it were.
Track record must be an important part, thing to watch out for when people are picking who they vote for. All right, we'll see how, like I said earlier, Ms. Avia, though people are quite radical in how they vote, we've seen that, in the course over time. Thank you so much for talking to us. I'm sure we'll have you over and over again as the election approaches. Human rights activist and public affairs analyst Abraham Oviawe, thank you so much for talking to us.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.